Approval of non-resident tuition, Dr. Bell.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, board members, Mr. Superintendent. This is an item that y'all are aware that we calculate and bring to y'all every year. It's based on the prior year's expense versus revenue relationships. There's been some discussion this year because the calculation of the non-resident tuition using the formula that we've always used has come in at $2,491.09. Last year it was around, I want to say, $3,650. In the agenda review, there was some question about it. We went back and revisited the calculations based upon our internal policy and state requirements, and we're here to verify that it has come back at $2491.09, the same number we put in front of you. Keep in mind that one of the reasons it was like $3,653 last year was because it was calculated based upon the 12 school year, and that's the year that we spent so much and didn't collect enough and evaporated our fund balance, okay? So we've taken a look at it again. I mean, I know Dr. Preston was asked to look at it. I don't know what he's done so far, but we've examined it a couple of times, and we think it's $24.91.09. If that turns out not to be the case, I'll bring some kind of a correction, but we've looked at it and we feel confident. That's what the calculation produces.
Discussion? Is there any discussion? Mr. Orson?
Well, we had this discussion, obviously, the agenda setting, and I've got a couple of questions because I think I know a couple of board members, we're just the number feels low. And we know it's low in certain categories, and I think we're trapped because there are certain services we're providing to other districts and certain categories of students in which, you know, we're a low-cost provider to high-cost districts, which is not really an enviable position for us to be in as a district. And I know in comparison to what other districts are charging out-of-district students, we're also low in just in a apples-to-apples comparison. So a couple of questions. One is, I know you refer to the state regulations, and I need a better understanding. Are they guidance or are they regulations? I mean, that's sort of my first question. That comes out of the state DOE.
Board policy JBCC.
So it's our own policy that's
That's a summary of
right.
how you get there.
Okay. So it's not the state's not requiring this figure. We've, and somehow, based on our history, we've created a policy that has led to this figure.
Mr. Farmer has indicated that our policy references the state regulation. And I have a copy of our policy, which is just verbiage.
Right.
Such tuition shall not exceed the average locally financed per student costs for the preceding year and shall exclude the required local fair share funds. An estimated amount based upon projected current year per pupil expenditures shall be included in the proposed budget for tuition. Just to give you an idea, and we've looked at these calculations a couple of times. It's a relationship of the year in question expenditures to your total revenues, and you take the resulting amount and you divide that by your student body. The year that produced $3,653.14, we had total expenditures of $828,682,043. We had offsetting revenues of $468,646,565. The difference between those two amounts is $360,035,478. I don't talk to my wife when I get home at night like this. Okay, if you take the student body, okay.
We get it. I mean, I think there's a gut level reaction here. I would like to propose we table this to the July meeting because even to the point, we know we need more research. I'd like to understand if this is coming out of our own policy or the policy is being dictated by state regulation, since we don't have those answers. And then we know there's related issues. For example, there are certain categories where students are coming in from other districts at basically a low tuition rate with a high expense for, depending on how their categories, and what I know we had this conversation at. And I would just feel comfortable if we're in a position to do so, to defer this for a month so we could make a more informed decision.
Would that be a problem related to our timeline for other programs? It could.
Since we hadn't collected a penny in
Right.
district tuition in the last 10 years, I don't think it would.
Right.
Thank you, good question.
Mr. Farmer has informed me that Carolyn Smith needed this statistic for one of her reports. That's all we know is a need for it. Okay? So I'd say whatever the board decides. We have to check with her to see what impact it might have if this goes another month.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
can we remove it from the consent agenda? Talk to Ms. Smith. If it's something that is necessitated, we could always bring it back, but why don't we just take it off the consent agenda right now? And you check with her between then and tonight. Is
Yes,
that
sir.
fair, Mr. Orson?
Okay, we'll do that.
Is that agreeable with our board members? We'll do that.
Yeah, I just want to log one more question that you guys could look into. You may have the answer now. How many people pay non-resident tuition per year? What's the number?
Okay, last year, when I brought the $3,653 forward, it was stated that we don't make any money off of this non-resident tuition because we have something in excess of 100 non-resident students, but they're all the children of teachers who live outside the county and get to bring their kids in here because they work here. So we don't make any substantial money off of it.
How many students actually pay the tuition? Do we know?
We got a goose egg in the budget.
It's zero.
But are we not being paid, I thought, by the city of Decatur, or we have special services for special education?
Well, here's Dr. Crawford.
But there are some, right. And that was one of the issues we were talking about at agenda setting that.
We don't do tuition. I know we're serving 3 students from the city of Decatur, and we do charge them tuition, so we do get that money.
Right.
No, it's just that this past school year, I think it was like 3,000, whatever the tuition rate
Right,
was.
and part of them, we went into the discussion about the category that they were categorized and what we were charging, and that's an even larger issue because we currently have certain specialization that the city of Decatur and maybe Rockdale don't have, and are we charging basically a fair rate compared to the
Well,
services we're providing?
We are earning the FTEs for those students who we are serving from the city of Decatur. So we're getting all of the money that we would get if they were students in DeKalb.
The state portion?
Yes.
Right, but if they were over in the city of Decatur, even based on their per pupil allocation, it would probably, they'd be spending more in the city of Decatur than they're spending in DeKalb County, and that imbalance is what sort of strikes, I think, some of us as kind of at.
Well, we do bill them for extra services. Let's say, for example, if a student needs an interpreter, we do bill them for that, and so we do recoup whatever
No, I understand,
cost
and
that
they
we
would have those costs, but their per pupil allocation of local funds is higher than ours, and my sense, at least my takeaway when we last met was, they're not paying us the equivalent of their local allocation. They're paying us what we charge and essentially keeping the difference in the city of Decatur because they just have a higher per pupil expenditure. And we're getting their state share, but that wouldn't vary anyway because essentially everybody in the state gets the same allocation. So it's the local share of dollars. And this is, not to put anybody in the spot, I think it's just an area that we've probably been doing it the same way for how many years has the school district been in business? And it might be an appropriate time as we're trying to get the rest of our financial house in order to take another look at it.
This item will be pulled from the consent agenda. We will consider it tonight.
Thank you.